NFL podcast for the island of Ireland as we get set for week 7 of the NFL season. We are presented by 888 Sport, the official betting partner of the NFL in Ireland and the UK. Michael McQuaid, Mark Hogan, Jason Hayes, late this evening because we were discussing weather issues off camera, which we'll get into in a few moments. Mark, apparently the storm doesn't exist, and I'm saying this now because this will be funny to watch back on Sunday when you miss the game. How are you doing?
Jesus. Yeah, Storm. Ashley, is that what we're talking about? Yeah, thankfully down here they're not going wild about it because they often get it wrong. So we were talking about that. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't. I don't know what if we miss the game though, man. I mean, I'd love going to London. I don't want to miss it.
I thought you were going to say something completely different there, so well done. Well done. Jason, what's the crack, lad? You were missed last week. Bear down. Bear down.
Oh, I'm very well. I was in my house tearing down a cabinet. I had the game on in the background, and I was very jealous of Tuhi over in London. So excited to get back this week. Hopefully.
Yeah, we missed out on your buddy. We missed out on your buddy. He was there in the VIP section. We only heard about it after the fact. All the way flown in from Frankfurt. Antonio Griezmann was there. And it's like the one thing that we have not been able to do is hang.
Yeah.
Was it not Frankfurt last year that you met Antonio Griezmann? Yeah, there you go.
Met him on the pitch after. Yeah. I should have sent him a text
the other day.
Got you guys
exactly.
to hook
and
up.
You never gave us the heads up. Yeah, 100%. Thanks for that one, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I saw him on a private Instagram story, all right, but he asked me not to circulate it, so.
Here.
Anyway, shit banter aside. Who did you meet in Stansted this week?
Who do we meet in Stansted Airport? I don't think we met anyone. We're live right now. If you have a question, get a question in. If you're live, if you're live, we're live right now.
Here is Big Ange that you met this week. Mike was talking to Big Ange on the sideline. Celtic man like you, Jason. You would have been well jealous.
Right enough, I met that. I forgot. I didn't tell Jason. Met Big Ange. I may have said he'll heal her up the Celts, and look. I'm from Northern Ireland. I'm diverse. I'm accepting of all, but I had to walk past him at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and say it because Daniel Levy was right beside him. Just on that, I am gonna now. One of the great things about this podcast is we don't just do basic predictions. Oh, who cares who we think is going to win the game? We talk around different elements of the game, but I am going to go off script tonight for 2 seconds. And just bring up very quickly, Mark, I feel like we need to discuss this very quickly for a real. Minister of Tourism, Catherine Martin, has said that basically the cat's out of the bag tonight officially. Something that we've known about through some Irish idiot talking to Roger Goodell last week. I don't know who he was, some Paddy lad, I don't know who he was. And then obviously Peter O'Reilly joined us as well. Great to see the cabin man join us. But Catherine Martin basically implying tonight that the government is in talks to have an NFL game in Ireland. I just, 30-second reaction to that. We don't have to be political. It's good news for everybody involved, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the reaction to it was, well, didn't we know this already? And yeah, it's the short answer. We've been putting it out there, and it's no longer if we get a game. Certainly people are thinking of it as when, but you still can't take these kind of quotes for granted. It is massive. Like if we get this a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, so much has happened in the last 12 months that we are taking an Irish minister talking about a game, an NFL game being hosted in this country for granted. We shouldn't, is the long and short of it. It is massive that it is at this level. So really exciting quote, even if people think that they've heard it before.
Jason, the motorway that Sunday when the game happens is going to be a hard one to get up. You might stop off in Fermoy. The E-toll is going to be hard. Have you planned ahead already? What's the thoughts?
How about you? How about yourself and Lynn driving like 5 hours and then stopping when you're half hour outside the city, thinking there was a long way to go? I won't make that mistake anyway.
What time is Dublin that night, Michael?
Well done. Don't start. Look, everyone knows the M1 is a Formula 1 track from Belfast to Dublin. There's no guards. Now I've said that, and Garda Síochána is going to get on me now, but it's not. It's a Formula 1 track. I'm really excited for the prospect of a game on a personal level, Jason, and that's not something I've talked about publicly, but I feel like as a fan, it'll be 26. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's 25, but it's coming, yeah?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, if it's going to be the Steelers, I think we'd be hoping 25. They have that extra home game next year. So connecting the dots that way. You'd hope it's 25 and not 27, but look, Steelers are planning on playing a game eventually. Maybe the first game won't be the Steelers. We'll see what happens if there's a game in 26. I'm not complaining. Whoever's playing out there, I can't. Maybe Steelers be the away team. I'm not going to speak about something I don't know about, but I'll take anyone. The game,
do you know what, Jason?
2-1-5 teams this weekend in London. I'd be more than happy to see that in Ireland. It doesn't matter to me. Just as an NFL fan in this country, it's just bizarre to even think that this will happen, and it will happen at this point.
Jason says something interesting. Would the Steelers be an away team? I don't see it happening. Why would a team give up that? They're seen as a home team here. They've done so much marketing. What team is going to look and say, oh, yeah, we'll host the Steelers. We'll do them a favor. So I don't see the Steelers being an away team. They've just put too much effort in. People are not going to want to already go to another country. But the Jags, like you just said, they're down to 7 games, aren't they? So it's not unheard of to do it. Sorry, Michael, I'll let you in. It's not unheard of to give up a game when you're only on your 8-game schedule. I mean, it's what we were just so used to up until the regular season changed only a number of years ago. So I can't see it happen 26. I was in the 25 band until Roger Goodell said to you, Michael, of all people, the other day that he doesn't think it'll be next year. But thanks for putting that cold water on it.
May have got in trouble over that last Saturday for like 5 minutes. Shout out to Big Rog giving us the exclusive and not giving Sky Sports the exclusive. Shout out to Neil for being so sound about it. What a great lad. He's in Dungannon in January. It's sold out. We still haven't announced any guests for Dublin yet. I think Mark's going to announce one next week. Looking forward to hearing that, Mark. But some big plans on the horizon. And yeah, just on that, the Jags have their stadium plans accepted this week from the owners, and that will happen. And in 2027, they will play a full season away from Jacksonville, so I think that will play into it. And just quickly on what Jason said about the Steelers, I think they'll play their first game, whenever it is, as a home team, and I think they'll jump at the chance to come as an away team. If it's the year after that, they want to come over as much as possible. It's beneficial for them. But I have no doubt that 3 different elements. The Steelers will want to announce it, surely in Ireland, and that's just me talking as a fan. I don't know, okay? So I don't want to get in trouble here. Secondly, I think they'll want to be the home team. And thirdly, it's Croke Park or bust. Go and read an article this morning and tell me it isn't, and I'll leave it at that. I think the Aviva will host NFL games in the future. I think the Jags might play the Aviva as a home team. I have no idea. We're going to move on. But great news. Amazing news. And it's good, lads, to see that 13 billion euros spent in some way. Maybe we could use a 2 or 3 to get a Super Bowl to Dublin. Who knows? Or Belfast. God, you could even... Imagine we had a stadium. All right, let's move on.
Well,
Week 7.
We are ignoring the big news that St. Connors Park in Kildare is finally due to reopen with 3,000 seats and an additional 12,000 standing. So let me pitch that one now that we have a stadium back in the Grey County once again.
Can you get like a digger? Shout out digging and get it up and just pushes up the M1 a bit for about 2 hours. I'm getting in trouble tonight. I can feel it. If you are watching live, do give us a shout. We're going to go through some comments at the end of this. There's a lot of people commenting. We will get back to the end, we promise. We are going into week 7. It's our final week, weather dependent. Going to London. Just publicly apologise to the Jacksonville Jaguars and NFL UK and Ireland if Storm Ashley Cole makes its appearance on Saturday night. Some of us obviously have got insurance policies out for this, but one last time in London, as it says, Jags Patriots this Sunday. It's on ITV in Northern Ireland. It's on Virgin Media too in the Republic. Our man Craig Doyle on the mic again. Mark, where do we start here? We were in the Jaguars locker room last week. I'd say the bingo in the old folks' home was better crack on a Tuesday morning. Let's just put it that way. Jesus Christ, huh? I mean, the crack was minus like.
How long were we there for? Was it over under 120 seconds? It was tense. We were the only ones that brave going in, and I can imagine why. No, it's brutal. Like this time last year, they were after beating the Falcons convincingly. They were just about to beat the Buffalo Bills. They're flying high. What is going on in Jacksonville? Doesn't seem to really make sense. The regression has happened so fast. One thing that's insane is like the dropped balls. Like it doesn't even make sense because Jacksonville Jaguar wide receivers dropping balls was like a thing, like 3 or 4 years ago. It's a completely different wide receiver core, and they still catch a ball. So it begs belief, really. But yeah, that was tense the other day. You're dead right, Michael.
And look, a shout out to the Jaguars. Great opportunity. We had the chance to meet Lewis Rees-Zammit before he went on what looks to be a media circle tour today. So we got him first. He seems like a nice lad. The minute he heard the accent, he thought, Jesus, here we go. Fair play to him. Good man. I know we're going to talk about different elements of this game, and Mark, just to maybe stay on you for a wee second before we talk about the Jags. New England are really showing signs of life under Drake May. I wrote an article this morning for RTE. I'm just product placement now on this podcast, and I actually, when I was doing a bit of research, I seen last week he completed the furthest pass in 3 years for the New England Patriots. Three seasons. I'm not joking. 51.7 yards, I want to say. Yes, they lose by 20 odd points, but a Patriots team that can put 21 points up against a Jaguars team that are conceding points, don't look confident, and are frankly, let's be clear here, they're down in the dumps. Oh my God, New England has a chance. But it's good to see a rookie quarterback come in with not a lot of expectation, but to be given that time. That's what they need, man.
Yeah, look, we talked last week about how it still doesn't make sense to me, the move to stardom, because you're preaching that you wanted to wait, and it did seem like they're losing the fan base, and they threw Drake May to the wolves, really. Like, it doesn't really make sense to put him in. But anyway, I mean, that was for last week's conversation. We might as well just look at kind of like what he brings to this game, what he just brought to his debut, or his starting debut. And yeah, really impressive. Like, when I was looking back at him, like, he did look athletic, he looked the part in that kind of sense, and he went through his reads and was quite patient. It wasn't all good. The interception that he threw at the end of the first quarter was just a complete overthrow, and I think that that's going to be frustrating for fans, especially if he doesn't improve in accuracy. We know as a rookie, it's not easy to just improve in accuracy. Other bad, you might look at the sacks that he took. I think there was 4 sacks. Jacoby Brissett wasn't escaping those sacks. No quarterback was. Not with that offensive line that the Patriots have, and he did quite well other than that. And he was able to move, and he was able to scramble. I love that. There were some things that I loved. Kayshon Boutte. Does anyone know the name Kayshon Boutte? I certainly didn't. 30-round pick last year, 2023. He
Is that the defensive guy for the Texans?
No.
He's on my list. No,
wide receiver. Wide receiver for the New England Patriots.
Jesus.
This is like how nondescript the New England Patriots have become. That Kayshon Boutte, he was drafted last year. He was reading, got into Bill Belichick's bad books. That's why he wasn't there. So he did not get a snap in week 1, a healthy scratch in week 2, and here we are, or just gone by week 6, and he catches a savage touchdown pass that any quarterback would be happy to have as their first ever TD in the NFL. Field goal range, like literally on the field goal line. Any other quarterback you'd imagine is just at that point, I think they're 14 down, 21 down. You probably just play for the field goal and go in at halftime. You have your timeouts there. Instead, Drake May showed a lot of maturity. And instead of like running the ball or whatever, he throws this absolutely beautiful pass again to Kayshon Boutte. And I'm kind of thinking, like, maybe this is kind of the perks of Boutte. Thought he was probably done in the NFL, probably stepped up. The two of them would have been working as number 2s in the offseason. You'd imagine that kind of stuff. So in terms of that going forward, maybe the Patriots have a bit of it. Again, Drake May was obviously going to start next year, and that's when I expected to see him, and that's what I think would have been the smart move. But the likes of Boutte and that seem to be stepping up because they've nothing to lose now. And Kendrick Bourne has been saying how, yeah, they're in the wide receiver room and stuff. Sorry, I realize I'm talking for too long about a guy that no one has ever heard of. But I think that that's where we are at with the Patriots, that Drake May has come in with a completely different approach. He is definitely mobile, which is nice. One thing, and I have to say this, his first pass the other day, it wasn't his debut. We did see him. He got in for some snaps against the Jets in week 3, but he actually uses a bit of cadence to try and draw the Texans offside. And I was like, Jesus Christ, the confidence. You've just started. This is what, your 3rd snap as a starter. And to try and draw a defense offside, I was like, you know what, this guy has a bit of something. So while it is a crazy move, I hope I've mentioned a few things there that get people excited.
I have to say, cadence seems like a real Kildare word. Just going to put that out there and say it. Jason, I know you're going to talk about the game generally, just in a little second, and we'll talk about will you even make the game. I'm joking. Let's look very quickly. I'll just sort of jump on Doug Peterson here. Like, Mark, we had the luxury of, I know I've said it a second ago, being in that locker room, but I cannot stress it enough. This is not something I want to tweet out or say, but genuinely, I've a better crack of the week, and I felt sorry for them. When you hear Cisco last week talking about how guys have quit, that's alarming for one. We've seen a lot of the guys that had their bags packed. They were on the bus within 10 minutes. They were walking out of the room as we came into the stadium. And albeit the people that were there were very generous to us, including the staff there with the team, and we do send props to them. But this is the team, lads, that they're 22nd in first downs, they're 19th in total yards, and I've written this down. Their defense is 31st in total yards allowed. But it goes back to what you said a second ago, Mark. On 3 or 4 occasions last Sunday when there was drop passes, that was a real issue. But Trevor Lawrence had an average completion percentage last year of 65.8%. He's now averaging 60.3%. And you can, while that doesn't seem like a big difference, you can see the drop off in his performance. He does not look confident. There was about 4 or 5 times on Sunday last week at Tottenham where we could see, behind the drums of course, Mark, that they just didn't look confident when they had the ball, whether that was in the red zone or they were starting at the 20-yard line. They just did not look ready. They looked frustrated. And the thing is, they've actually had 12 plays that are classed as explosive plays through 6 games. Somebody got NFL Premium Pro here during the week, lads. That means 12 plays of 20 or more yards. They're not getting the job done. They let 35 points up on a defense last week, and you would be concerned going forward. I think if it was any other week, I think if the London game wasn't until like week 7, week 8, I think Doug Peterson would have been fired before the game was over on Sunday. And I think regardless of the result now, lads, and Mark or Jason, maybe you want to fly in here first, mate. I think regardless of the result, I think it is time for Doug Peterson to maybe go. Like at the start of the year, Shad Khan was talking about how this was the best Jaguars team that they ever had assembled, and props to him. He has put his money where his mouth is. He's paid Trevor Lawrence. He's paid Josh Hines-Allen. He's paid these guys. He's tried to build something there. They have a long-term strategy and plan, not just in Jacksonville, but obviously games in the UK. They obviously have marketing rights now with us as well. Props to them for a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. But Doug Peterson, Jason, and the Super Bowl that he won is starting to become more mysterious each year, and I feel like we need an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary. Seems like a lovely guy. We've had the opportunity to meet him and have interviews with him in press conferences over the last 2 to 3 years because of the Jags' London presence. But you feel now, Jason, like it's a team which is not really going to go anywhere, and maybe it's time to pack it in and get somebody else in. What's your thoughts?
They've completely run out of steam. It's 1-5 this year, but they actually finished last season 1-5 as well. So 2-10 for their last 12 games. I'd agree. I was going to ask you that question, but you answered it for me. I think Doug Peterson has no way of saving his job this week. The fact that they're in London for an extra week has given him an extra week's wages, so fair play to him. But I don't think he's the man to take this team forward, because on paper, at least, a lot of talent is there, and it just has a constant feeling of underachievement when you watch the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you mentioned the defense there. So Ryan Nielsen, new defensive coordinator. You don't want to pile on a guy who's only coached 6 games with his new team, but it's been objectively a terrible start for the Jaguars defense. So if Doug Peterson's going, I'll be interested to see what his role is and how if he stays on the team as well. You wouldn't like to fire a guy that soon into his stint with the team, but it's just been very poor. And just look at the game more broadly, it does pose a good opportunity for Drake May to build on that strong first performance. We saw what Caleb Williams did to this Jaguar secondary last week. Had a huge amount of success, probably his best game. So great opportunity for Drake May to pick on a defense that's the worst in the league against the pass. I do have concerns about the offensive line because they've 3. I mean, the line was banged up as it is, but they have 3 guys who are questionable now for Sunday. Michael Jordan, Layden Robinson. I only just read that Michael Jordan name out.
Michael Jordan, Jesus, here.
Yeah. Adrian Lowe. So 3 guys, a tackle and 2 guards who are questionable for this Sunday. Not what you want with a rookie quarterback when the offensive line is already struggling. But look, I'm not going to reiterate Mark's points. Fully agree. Impressive debut. A couple of rookie mistakes in there as you expect. But overall, from the Patriots' perspective, the offense looks better with Drake May at quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. We'll see if they can continue that now. Texans defense is pretty good as well, so it's definitely a good start, and they should be able to expand on it now. One thing just to watch in this game, the Patriots, they've had 21 penalties in the last 2 games. Jared Mayo isn't exactly lighting it up either with his team, and that's a thing. You don't want to compare him to Bill Belichick. It's like David Moyes coming in and constantly getting compared to Alex Ferguson in his first few games. But it's one thing about the team being bad, but lacking discipline and a lot of foolish mistakes, pre-snap penalties. That's something you don't see on a Bill Belichick team ever, and that's something that Jared Mayo will need to iron out quickly as well, because 21 penalties in 2 games for a team that's not talented, you're just taking all chances of competing out before you even begin with performances like that.
Yeah, he's very like Jared Mayo. He's very like Stephen Kenny-ish, or is that harsh? So far.
What in terms of he doesn't have control of the team, or like his big boots fill. I mean, we definitely put too much expectation on our soccer coaching, and we've no players coming out. But
Here, tell it to Michael O'Neill out of the week. He's flying at the minute.
Do you know what though? There is a lot of New England Patriots fans that are going to be seeing their team for the first time, because we know there's a huge fan base over here since those Tom Brady days. And just to kind of bounce back onto what Jason was saying there, I think it sets up for a massive day for Drake May, because the Jaguars defense is just horrible, really. That Butte pass that they're saying that's going to be there. The Demarius Douglas touchdown that we saw from them get the other day, that's going to be there. I said he's a mobile quarterback, Drake May. Outside of Josh Allen, there's no defenders, it seems, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he can scramble all over the field and buy time and make plays that way. So I think if you're a Patriots fan, you should actually come away from this game quite excited, because I just think it sets up nicely for a team that's been down in the dumps when you're playing the 31st worst. Well, it looks like the worst. The Raiders are so bad themselves. The Jags and the Raiders are just such horrible offense that it makes everyone feel good. But in terms of firing Doug Peterson, I agree that, no one actually explicitly said the scheme for Doug Peterson does seem to be the problem, because you're talking about explosive plays. All they want is explosive plays. They're trying to set up explosive plays the whole time, and that's where Doug Peterson has gone wrong. He's saying my scheme will make explosive plays. Well, it hasn't for quite a long time, so he needs to go. But I don't think Ryan Nielsen, as a first-year guy there, and obviously he has experience from before. And then Press Taylor, he's the actual play caller right now. They're not going to elevate Press Taylor or Ryan Nielsen. So is there someone else in the building that can go to the head coach? Like, it's just a mess for them. And like you said, Shad Khan has obviously a lot of expectations, but I just think that this could be the last time we're talking about Jacksonville this year, because they're just going to become irrelevant when they go to 1-6.
Yeah.
Let's look at the obvious opposite example of a coach evolving. Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they were known for their deep passing game, and they have the shortest average yards per pass attempt in the league this season, and they're succeeding as a result of that. That's a coach who's recognizing where the league has gone and the complex defenses that are out there, and the way the game is just these last couple of years. Doug Peterson hasn't. He's tried to keep his classic style of attacking the defense going, and it just hasn't worked, and it's just grinded to an ugly halt at the moment.
1-5 against 1-5 on Sunday in London. I just hope for a good game. I think what's going to happen is the Patriots come out and score first and sort of slaughter along. I think the Patriots win this game, like 14-10 or something stupid. I
have
think
a bit more hope in their offense right now. The Patriots, that is.
And we're going to the locker room after, please God. How you getting on there, Drake? What's the crack there, boy? On that, we talked about the Jaguars for 12 minutes. That must be a record for this podcast. Props to them. Their throwback unis are great, but their time is
enjoy anyone going to the final London game of the year, 100%.
See you all in Munich in 3 weeks. I need to talk to you boys about Munich off camera. I done something. I need to talk to Mark about it, but yeah, I didn't make a good decision.
I'm in New Orleans that weekend, so I won't be on the podcast this Thursday. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Thursday,
you'll be on it. You're on that podcast, lad. You can get StreamYard and jump on anywhere. We'll sort it out.
Yeah, literally.
Just on that, just for very, very quickly, finally, what Jason said, and we will come back to this, saying about, probably is the last time we're going to talk about the Jaguars for a while. Sorry, that's what you said, Mark. I think if they go 1-6, we're going to have to start having that Trevor Lawrence conversation, and we'll leave it at that.
Do you know, I don't think, sorry, again, this is way too much Jags talk. If I don't throw these comps too often because I feel like awkward in them. I think right now he's been made to look like Gardner Minshew, where he's just lined up and they succeed on big plays. I think he'd be fine in another offense, but it's just, we've seen it with so many quarterbacks right now. So sorry, the NFL this year, quarterbacks in the right offense are working.
He's a tall boy. Right. Let's go NFC North as we go on right now on Pro Football Ireland. This is our Week 7 preview podcast. We have got the Lions playing the Vikings this weekend. Would you like to talk about the NFC North or that game first, Mark? What would you like to talk about?
We are not going to talk about that game specifically in that context. We're going to go one by one through the teams because this week people are saying that can the NFC North provide us with 4 playoff teams, and they're all looking fantastic right now. I mean, I don't know who's talking about the Chicago Bears. I think it might be you, Jason. But yeah, like crazy that you look back a month ago and you're getting texts off people, oh, Caleb Williams is a bust and all this kind of stuff. They've completely turned their fortunes around. Minnesota, I mean, we can literally go through them all. We're so blessed that we saw 2 of those teams because, I mean, it continues to streak on of getting to see these playoff teams in London before they go on to great things in January. So it's definitely exciting. And I suppose, yeah, I don't know if you want me to start, but where the Detroit Lions are at with they were supposed to have it nice and easy. It was supposed to be free reign. Free reign, we were told in September 2023. The Chicago Bears are done for. Minnesota is done for. Green Bay, they're testing out this Jordan Love thing. Fast forward a year and 1 month later. And the biggest thing to Detroit for me is they have a lot of competition, and we have to talk, lads, about Aiden Hutchinson.
I just on Aiden Hutchinson, I would just love to see Max Crosby be traded to this Lions team.
No, it's not happening. Al Davis came out, right, because everyone is linking Max Crosby with the Detroit Lions because they need someone. And it's a great point that you bring up. They're going to have to get some help. Aiden Hutchinson went in far and away the Defensive Player of the Year favorite. I talked about him in my week 3, having a nice scratch there, Michael. It sounds like that was so weird at the microphone right in. Aiden Hutchinson was going in.
That's bad, boys. That's bad.
I had to explain it for anyone that's listening to the podcast. It's fine on video, but the podcast is like, what is that? It's not me. That's all I wanted to say. Aiden Hutchinson.
Adobe Podcast Enhance, my friend. Adobe Podcast Enhance. You boys are north enough in the Republic to sound okay. Now, if you're from Kerry, you're screwed. But Adobe Podcast Enhance. Go on ahead, sorry.
No, Aiden Hutchinson goes into, and thank you for the explainer about how that enhancer works. It's sound pretty cool. They have, or he goes into the game far and away the Defensive Player of the Year favorite, and you know he's controlling the same attention that Aaron Donald would have once upon a time. What happens when Aaron Donald goes out this year? A defense gets worse. Detroit is doing nothing in front of or when it comes to pass rush, really outside of Aiden Hutchinson. Something I mentioned week 3 headache when we're looking forward to that week, and it's difficult now to see where they go because he has 7.5 sacks when he gets injured. That's the same as the rest of the front 7 combined, which is kind of wild. Alan McNeil, the defensive tackle, is the only one, kind of playing well. He has to go from playing solid, though, to playing excellent. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, you talked about what your explosive plays. In terms of key plays, Aiden Hutchinson had 84 that led the NFL. Second place was Nick Bosa with 58. I mean, that shows the jump. And if you want to talk about Detroit's next best guy, it is Alan McNeil, has 31 key plays. So he has to take a massive step up in that offense. They're getting no pass rush otherwise. And that defense is going to just take a step down otherwise. So then you have to look forward to, well, who's on the market? Max Crosby has been ruled out. You can look at Hassan Reddick for the Jets. He has to be on the open market at this point. So unlike Zadarius Smith from the Browns, we just saw the Browns got rid of Amari Cooper. Clearly they're, open to trade offers right now. They know that a rebuild is incoming. But you have to ask one question. Brad Holmes, what is a trade worth for him? Because all we know is he absolutely hits on his draft picks. I mean, yeah, when Aiden Hutchinson came into the NFL, we knew that he came with pedigree. We knew Penny Sewell came with pedigree. But then you have to look at last year, Jamar Gibbs, the running back, and then the linebacker, Brian Branch. The narrative was they were overdrafted, and look at how they're bona fide starters now. The same with Sam Laporta, the tight end. Brad Holmes has been hitting on guys left, right, and center, and as a result, you've been left with the bones of a really fantastic squad. So does he want to be giving up too much capital that they're going to hit on? I think that they have to do it because for all those reasons, they have a fantastic roster outside a pass rusher. Hassan Reddick just makes so much sense and at a cheap price now. Apparently, though, now that he's with Rosenhaus, he wants to end his career as a Jet. You don't believe a word of it, do you?
I don't believe anything. In terms of this segment, you've hit the Lions like a nail on the head. Obviously, I think we're all going to agree that they make the playoffs through the NFC North. Jason, who's your team? Because there's only 3 of us. So I'm like,
I've got the Vikings.
Go for it.
Won't harp on about them too much because we covered them in depth before London and they haven't played since then. So all the points we made kind of still stand. It's just a case of 2 head coaches doing a great job with talented roster in Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. Love what Flores is doing. We saw him shake up some younger quarterbacks in the first 4 weeks of the season. Then he managed to shake up a 40-year-old, 20-year veteran in Aaron Rodgers as well in that London game. So defense, I've no concerns at all about the defense. It's one of the best units in the league, one of the best schemes right now in the league. They're generating pressures, takeaways. They're doing it all. I must say, though, coming out of that London game, I was a bit underwhelmed by the Vikings offense, and it has me questioning how long is this thing going to keep going with Sam Darnold at quarterback? He has the most turnover-worthy throws out of a clean pocket, so he's just a guy that's prone to making mistakes. And that's not exactly what you want when you have such a good defense on the other side, where you're kind of in a situation where if you have more of a game manager, you're going to go further. So I think that is a point of concern right now for the Vikings, just their offense as a whole. But they did nothing against the New York Jets, and the Jets do have a good defense, so I don't want to take too much away from them. But save for a lot of pass interference penalties, that offense struggled in London. So I do want to see them bounce back in a tough game this weekend. And 5-0, I wouldn't say I'm the most impressed with them from the North. I'd probably place them above Chicago, but behind Detroit and Green Bay for myself.
The NFC North seems like a Northern Ireland version of the NFL. The NFC North. I'm going to look at the Bears. Are we going to talk about Green Bay collectively? Is that?
I have to mention your comment, Michael. I have to mention your comment at the Limerick show, where someone asked you, how do the Packers take the North back? And you said, I can't comment on anyone taking the North.
Oh dear.
It was well delivered.
I can't. I don't want to get into. I've been going.
That was supposed to stay in Limerick by the looks of things, Jason.
I think we're at the point where I'm just like, yeah, okay, let's see the crack. So yeah, we'll probably go back to the Packers when we're talking at the Houston. With the Houston game this week. I think sort of just generally when you look at the Bears so far, I mean, first off, we're all in agreement. Are we all in agreement? 5-0 Vikings make playoffs? Yeah?
Yeah, but I think that they have the biggest chance of slipping up. I think, and I'll let you talk about the Bears first, but I think the Lions, because the offense or whatever, should still tick along nicely. Chicago is really rounding into form right now. Which gives me a lot of faith. It's just the Vikings for the reason that Jason says, but then they have a fantastic defense. Like, you cannot underrate it. It's the best defense in the NFL right now. He's just Brian Flores is making superstars out of everyone. For the reasons that you love Sam Darnold with his aggression there, like Jason pointed out, it can also lead to some dumb turnovers. And will that bite them? I think they still make the playoffs. At 5-0, it'll be hard to mess that one up.
I think it sort of shows you how impressive the NFC North is when you see a team that's 4-2. like the Chicago Bears, who are sitting third in the division. And certainly at the moment, as of right now, I would say that the Bears are definitely going to be up there come the end of the season. You look at their schedule, they have got a couple more sketchy games. Their home form is going to be vital. We know how electric those fans can be, and let's be clear here. Do you remember the double doink? We know how passionate they can be also. The Bears fans haven't been in that situation for a long time, but if you look at how they've played over the first few weeks of the season, they've rushed for only, I think, around 400 odd yards. They've 3.4 yards on average per carry on the running game, but that's not that high in terms of the league's average. I feel like the Lions are upwards of like 550 or so, but you're seeing guys start to really come out of their shell. Caleb Williams in the flesh last week, his pocket passing, his athleticism, but more so his confidence, especially in third down situations last week, I was really, really improved by. They've been mixed enough on turnovers, which has been a bit of an issue for them over the last 12 months and over the last few years, to say the least, for the Bears. That's something that they might want to try and chisel and look at. Cole Kmet really came out of himself last week, and it's not as if he hasn't been there as a leading figure in this offense. Cole Kmet has stayed, even as this offense has had a transition over the last couple of years, and a new quarterback has come into the system, and he feels like one of those senior guys now that you can look up to and see and really expect to perform consistently well throughout the season. And we had the chance, Mark, to meet Roma Dunze last Sunday, and it's mad how tall he is in person. It's also mad how mad his Irish accent is.
It's also mad how sound he is, honest to God, because
he's so sound.
He's so sound. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a shot at Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was, real professional. He's been through it all before. Doesn't want to get too high after, having a really good game. Roma Dunze, maybe it's just like the life that he has in him, the youthfulness or whatever. Really, really nice guy. Just cool, calm, and collected. Just really sound. And I went and followed him on Instagram earlier on because I was like, I want to follow his story, whatever. But when you're talking about them, Michael, I do think there has to be an asterisk put next to that performance, that the Jags defense is awful. That, of course, everyone wants to play the Jags right now and get a get-right game. So I presume Chicago's on a bye this week. I haven't looked into it. Right, they are on a bye. And it is that, the fans now are going to be expecting big things. You can actually tell me who they're playing next again, because,
they're on a bye. They're on a bye. They're playing the Commanders next.
And there you go. The Commanders' defense isn't lights out at the moment, but then they could go and lose that, and all of a sudden,
but it doesn't even. It feels like, Mark, like this is the time where they shouldn't really be taking a bye. We've seen so many teams like the Packers in the NFC North came over here and they didn't take a bye and they go straight back into it. The Jets, albeit in a different division, but they're basically like the B-Tech or junior leave insert version. All of the Green Bay Packers didn't take a bye. They moved on, and we've seen what happened there. Different conversation. Just to sort of stay on the Bears, and I have cut across you, so feel free to jump back in here again in a second. They have an average of 220 yards per game. They have an average of 23 points per game. You feel like if they could maybe get that up to around 29.5 or 30 per game, they're either going to win games or going to be very, very close to winning games, or maybe taking the game to overtime. They need to be looking at trying to get to 10 wins as quickly as possible. And that seems obvious, but you feel like this Bears team, a bit like what Jason said about the Vikings team, they're one of the teams where you'd look and go, if they do falter in late November, if they do falter in early December, can they come back from it? I'd like to see them try and score more points during the game on average throughout all of them. That game against the Commanders, when they come back off the bye, is going to be really, really interesting. As of right now, I will say that the Bears get to the playoffs in January. So does everyone agree, May?
That's the one. Let's put our necks on the line here now and make a call. So I'll say that all NFC North teams will not make the playoffs, and I think Chicago will be the team to miss out. And ultimately, the reason I'm saying that is their wins have come against the Titans, the Rams, the Jaguars, and the Panthers. So I just can't buy into them at this point. And of all the teams, I think they'd be the most likely to go on a bad run.
What do you think, Marcus?
Mark?
Yeah, for the reason that Jason pointed out there, they have, and look, it's important to look after those teams that you're better than and, move to 4-2, but they do have to play the entire of the division still. that's brutal because we're just talking gospel about how good these teams are, and to say that you've 6 games against the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions, I got that right? To say that you have those, you do have to layups like the Cardinals coming down the line and stuff. Washington will be a really interesting game next week. Maybe we'll even talk about it because let's see how good their defense really is and can they stop Drake May. But yeah, sorry, they actually have 2 layups. They have the Cardinals and Patriots
that
after
playoff
that.
implications as well. That's going to be a team.
Well, you know, Washington looks like it could win it looks like Washington could win the NFC East. So let's look at all that in December or whatever. It's tough, their schedule. But if we're saying on pedigree, I would like to see Chicago there because they definitely have the makings of a well-rounded NFL team right now, despite the limits that their coaching could potentially have in future years.
We will talk about the Packers when we look at the CJ Stroud Jordan Love game this week in the next segment on this podcast. You're listening to Pro Football Ireland, Ireland's #1 NFL podcast. Who like that outro? Do you like that outro? Yeah, it's nice. I love this part of the podcast because we just have the crack. I mean,
this is where we can talk. Yeah,
this is where you just have the crack and you
talking far.
You just click random video, just have the crack. Right. Anyway, we're going to jump into part 2. If you are watching live, get some comments and get some questions in, and we will answer them very, very shortly. Hey everybody, back in Pro Football Irlanda. Don't know what the full definition or translation of that is, but we know the NFL is big on coming to Spain next year, to Madrid. So we got to get started right now, baby. Week 7 of the NFL season. Michael McQuaid, Hoagie Bear, Hez, live right now. If you're watching live, listening live, get some questions in. If you're on the podcast network, happy Friday. Big game this weekend, Mark. You know, everyone's talking about it. It's a big rematch, a revenge game. The whole of America, a lot of Europe's going to be watching it. Alabama, Tennessee, baby, Saturday night. How are you thinking ahead of this big rematch? You good?
No, it's a big one. As you know, from any time college gets brought up on this, it is my expertise that I like to keep buried deep down. I do know that LSU is playing Alabama in 3 weeks' time as well, so that's the extent of it.
The biggest week of the college football season so far, and we have got a 6-0 and a 5-1 football team come to Dublin next year in Iowa State and Kansas State for the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Really excited for that game. If you'd like some information, you can go to collegefootballireland.com for that. Brock Purdy's alma mater, Iowa State. Boom. We got to get, you see if the Niners go to the Super Bowl, we're going to have to get like that video. Like, hey Brock, what about Iowa State? We're going to have to do it. But yeah, that's his alma mater. So his alma mater's coming to Dublin for Farmageddon, or as I call it, the Ploughing Championships Part 2. It's literally going to be cultures going around. I wouldn't be surprised if like there's a country festival in the Flea Arena the night before. Looking forward to it. Really exciting times for football here. And again, check out collegefootballireland.com. Talking about Brock Purdy, Mark, talking about Patrick Mahomes, we have got a Super Bowl rematch. Mark, let's keep this quite simple. Will the Niners be robbed at the end of this game, or will it be a completely different game?
I love how we're making people hang on to wait for our Packers preview, since it was such an obvious transition that you've missed now, Michael. The NFC North could have been.
I'm happy enough. It'd be grand.
But instead, the graphic says the Super Bowl rematch, which is wild considering like where these teams were when they met last year. Absolute powerhouses, the number 2 seeds, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's wild how much change there's been there. Not firing on all cylinders, but certainly doing enough right now.
Jason, it was a bad flex for me. We should have talked about the Packers, but we're here. Big game. We've actually got somebody going to the game, so shout out to the Niners organization. Fair play, lads. Who do you think is the best chance of making it back to the Super Bowl, Jason? What's your thoughts?
Oh God. I think I have the Lions from the NFC right now. I really like what I'm seeing from the Lions. And the Chiefs, they just know how to get it done. I'll say the Chiefs, just on a whim, with no thought or research put into that. Don't beat yourself up about the transition either. I think we can make this work.
I like the transition. I like the College Football Ireland situation, big weekend situation. I liked it
Oh
personally.
yeah, you tied it all as beautiful.
Mark, it's really hard to sort of see and think which one of these teams is going to be at the Super Bowl. But I think the biggest one for me is when I was doing a bit of research this week on the Chiefs. It's sometimes hard to like. It's very very easy to forget this is a 5-0 football team, man. This team they've had a bye week. They have not lost a game. But the really interesting thing is this: Patrick Mahomes through 6 weeks, 5 games, has got 6 touchdowns, but he's got 6 interceptions. Joined second in the league in quarterbacks for interceptions. Do you read anything into that whatsoever? Or are you like me where you're like the Chiefs, blah, 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 and then we all know they'll turn it on? I guess the easiest option for me to say right now in terms of who's going to get back, I think the easiest option is to say the Chiefs. We can talk about the Niners and what they've been able to do. Christian McCaffrey not available this week in week 7. He's still injured. Jordan Mason's had a really productive few weeks, but he's not the level at which Christian McCaffrey's at. It's hard to call this game. I think the reality is the winner of this game is not going to matter, especially for the AFC team playing in this game, because if they lose this game, they can pick up and go again. I feel like the AFC is going to be an easier path to get to a Super Bowl, but I'd happily, as we sit here in late October, say I'd love a rematch of this. I would love a rematch of this year if we see CMC back and if we see Brock Purdy and the Niners get to that next level.
God, I don't know. I would say the NFC is easier because outside the NFC North, the NFC West isn't being dominated right now. The NFC East is only offering Washington, and the NFC South is very hit or miss. So I would actually, as a result, have said the 49ers are probably most likely to get there because the NFC right now is the NFC North and not a whole lot otherwise. So yeah, I still think that there's a lot of good teams in the AFC.
Fair enough. I hold my hands up.
But when you look at the Chiefs and look, is this the week that they're going to be found out? We're going to ask ourselves that every single week because of the same reasons that you just outlined there with Patrick Mahomes. Second fewest explosive plays. I mean, you talked about, Jason, how they've definitely reined in the offense some bit, but it's definitely like they keep getting away with it. Like Kareem Hunt out of nowhere goes off for 100 yards there the last day. Juju had 130 yards before they had the bye. And the biggest stat that you're going to hear all week on this podcast, coming off the bye, what is Andy Reid but 21-4? He knows how to prep. He knows how to, use that time wisely. And he knows himself that they're down a wide receiver right now since Rashee Rice went out. But obviously, see the tight ends. It's not just Travis Kelce there. But yeah, now it will be interesting because wasn't it last year they had the bye after Germany and that's where they turned around. That's the game that Rashee Rice came out in. Then they had a week off and they fine-tuned it and they never looked back. Now is the crucial time for Kansas City, you have to say.
I feel as well, just to jump on that, Jason, from what Marcus said, yeah, it's a crucial time for Kansas City, but it's a crucial time for the Niners as well. If they are in a situation, because for all we know, Jason, Christian McCaffrey may not play again this year. And I think it's a fair enough thing to say 7 weeks in because they could be playing everyone's bluff for all we know. Jordan Mason needs to find that next level. He's not going to get to that top level, but he needs to be more productive. I've been quite impressed by how Brock Purdy's been able to improve year on year, especially as he gets closer to getting paid. He wants to show off, but he also wants to win a ring. It is difficult. I still see the Chiefs as that more than likely team to get back because they had the experience, Jason, to doing it. And I still believe 7 weeks in that we are destined to witness something that we have not seen before, which is a three-peat this year. I think it's written in the stars. I think it's rigged. I don't think it's rigged. I'm joking. I thought that might get a laugh. It's not rigged. I just think the Chiefs are too good. I think if you look at the team that they had when we were in Phoenix and the way that Mahomes was able to elevate that offense, anything's possible. I'm not saying they could take any of us lads off the street. Absolutely not. But certainly, Jason, they find a way to work with average to mid-base players in the offense, and Mahomes finds a way to elevate them. I'm going to be born and say that the Chiefs win this game, and I still have the Chiefs winning the AFC Championship. So prove me wrong, my man.
I'll just jump in there real fast because you really brought up if the Chiefs get back there, you have to look at the Baltimore Ravens as a bit like the Cork Hurlers in finals that they're not able to get over the line.
Do we need to talk about that? Do I have to be
No, I feel like I just torpedoed the podcast for my own joy.
If it makes you feel any better, Armagh won the All Ireland. Like, I mean, don't worry about it. They still have the bundle up, and it's the 17th.
I don't think it's going to help a Cork, man. But sorry, Jason. The floor was presented beautifully, and I just wanted to see how you react with a bit of adversity thrown your way.
I saw that Kildare got knocked out of the Jersey Challenge. So what are your thoughts on that, Mark?
Any thoughts on the 2-point situation, or is that for a different podcast?
Yeah, we were talking outside Tottenham Hotspur Stadium the other day about will Pro Football Ireland take on the GAA realm, because we've had a few inter-county players say that they love what we do and they'd love us to apply to the Gaelic football. So is it as of tonight, as of 9:56 on a Thursday, are we committing to it? Because it sure sounds like we've gone off the rails here.
I feel like Niblock would have a bounty out for me if that happened. So I love Thomas. Thomas, you're a good lad. You're a big supporter of this podcast.
To take us back on track, I did look into the 49ers. I did do something this week. Just wanted to see exactly what's got into their 3-3 start and whether they look different to what we saw last season. And I came away thinking that they aren't bad at all. You know, it's 3-3 and on the surface slump, and it's just not what I'm seeing. They're down McCaffrey, but they're actually rushing for more yards per game. I know you're lacking McCaffrey in the pass game there as well, so there's much more to it than that. But they're second in pass yards per game in the league, third in rush yards per game, eighth in scoring, first in time of possession. Brock Purdy is throwing for the most yards per attempt. He looks fantastic. Juwan Jennings, they have another weapon after breaking out at wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel's yardage totals have been down slightly with the high standards they've set, at least. And Juwan Jennings is actually leading the team in receiving yards. So that offense is still flying. You know, they had the contract disputes with Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk in the offseason. Maybe there was just a bit of rust shaking off that Super Bowl. But I've no doubt with the talent and with what they're actually doing week in, week out. They haven't got the wins to back it up, but they're still one of the best teams in the league. If there was any concern about the 49ers, it might be the defensive front. They just look like they can be pushed around a bit more this year, giving up a few more points per game, nothing serious. But opponents are running for more yards against them. They're missing Javon Hargrave in the interior there, so they're just look a bit more susceptible to be beaten on the ground. And they're one of their linebackers, Devontae Campbell, the strange linebacker. He's had an up and down career. He was one of the best in the league per some data companies. I don't know if it's a PFF or one of the other ones, but he was one of the best in the league for the Packers a couple of years ago. But he's really struggling out there for the 49ers right now. And again, a big part of what's going wrong on defense. I think they'll clean it up. I'm not worried. I think they're still one of the best teams in the league despite 3-3. And they'll be absolutely challenging for that Super Bowl.
Let's roll it back the years. Who's winning this week? I'm going to say the Chiefs.
Do you know what? I just looked up, obviously this podcast brought to you 888 Sport, if gambling, gamble aware. Looked out, so the Chiefs are the underdogs, 1.5 points. It is a home game for the 49ers. So that might explain a bit of that. It's very tough to call, but I think that, Jason, when you're talking about the offense, look, the offense is homing for the 49ers in particular ways. Brock Purdy is like lights out right now against against coverage. Against press. If you're going up against man, though, he was 0-6 the last day facing man coverage, and it's basically that he's really good at reading defenses. Is Brock Purdy? You know, that whole narrative of him not deserving to be there is kind of gone. The Chiefs, if they're able to bring pressure, and I think they will in this game. I mean, Chris Jones has been like nuts. He's been so good. He could end up getting the Defensive Player of the Year now that Aiden Hutchinson is gone. It's kind of like, because he can't check down to Christian McCaffrey, if you bring pressure at him and force him to get the ball out, I think that's where he's going to struggle. So I had to look back, and the only real example that I can give of this is when Minnesota played them, I think in week 3 or week 2, wasn't it? So Minnesota and that defense we've talked about it, Brian Flores, they're playing a lot of like zone because you don't really know where the blitzers are coming from. He was able to read the zone defense, even though every other quarterback has seemingly struggled with it, including himself on the day, Brock Purdy. But in the second half, then they blitzed way more. They blitzed and had their best day blitzing. The Vikings defense did against Brock Purdy, and it seemed to work even through not a brutal interception. It's just like it was almost unavoidable because he was trying to get the ball out because there's so many rushes coming at him. I wonder, is that the way that Steve Spagnuolo is going to play this, knowing that in the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy was very good against zone coverage, and he's obviously picked that up off tape. That without Christian McCaffrey, I think that's where you have to find him out, that there's no running back that is going to be catching the ball. So on certain plays, when you know it's a passing down, I suppose you're defending the run early and hoping that he can't get the pass out, force them into passing downs, and that's where the Chiefs can capitalize. So I'm actually the same as you, Michael. I actually think I'm picking the Chiefs in this one, as difficult as it is to call.
I'll go with I think I will take the 49ers just because I feel like they kind of need it more, just with being 3-3. Chiefs are 5-0. Kind of a cop-out answer, but I can just see the Niners getting it done this weekend.
Shout out to the Irish faithful who have a watch party on Sunday in Dublin. Shout out to them. I think the second one of the year. Fair play, lads. That's not easy. It's thankless work, and we all know how hard people put the work in. So have a great time if you're going to that on Sunday. God, here's a topic we should have talked about at the start of this podcast. CJ Stroud, Jordan Love play each other this Sunday in a really, really big game. Now, I have to give it to, it may have been Mark Hogan. I think it was Jason Hayes. Both quarterbacks are having great breakout seasons. But which of the following categories do we place them in? Will it be Justin Herbert, media darling, but never gets the wins to back it up? Josh Allen, always close but no cigar? Or Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl regular? Have I nailed that introduction, Mark, in terms of a podcast?
Jason came up with this. I think it's difficult to say Jordan Love. Look, we know he's missed games this year. We know CJ Stroud is lights out. So I this is my cop-out answer. I don't think it's worth comparing them, because this is the whole thing. Everyone's comparing everyone to everyone right now. Like I think Jordan Love isn't playing as well this year as he did in the finals 9 games last year. Like, he's playing great, but again, he's missed time and he seems to have regressed against the blitz. He has to figure that out again. CJ Stroud, I think, is playing fantastically, but in terms of this game and going forward for the next 3 weeks, Nico Collins is out, if you want me to talk about that. But yeah, I think it's difficult. And, you know, you said they're having breakout campaigns. They broke out last year. So I don't think that necessarily, like, you know, they give their teams an awful lot of hope, the two of them. But at the end of the day, only one quarterback can win the Super Bowl in each given year. So, yeah, I think that CJ Stroud is probably the heir to Patrick Mahomes, you know, but that was something we could have said in the offseason.
Jason, the thing for me, CJ Stroud, you know, given the early success that he has had in the league, including leading the league in significant different categories like passing, the performance that he had in the playoffs, you could probably lead him towards more of like the Patrick Mahomes category if he can take this Texans team a step further this year and win a ring. I guess for me, I looked at Jordan Love somewhere in between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. He's shown that he can get his team to a playoff game and win against the odds. It's just trying to see if he can become like a regular down the stretch like that, if it's playoff Super Bowl appearances. That's how I got it. Maybe I've messed that up, but that is how I would categorize these. I did not think any of them are a bit like Justin Herbert, but maybe come back to me in 18 months when the Texans haven't made it past a divisional game, and I might come back to you and say something else, or they've blown a lead and we can get to that point. How do you categorize these guys?
Yeah, I guess the point I'm kind of coming at it from is that these two guys clearly had their breakout years last year. You wanted to see if they could back it up this year, and by all means, it seems like they are very talented quarterbacks, and they're here to stay. And so, what's their situation going to provide them? Whereas, you know, are they going to be a guy like Justin Herbert who broke out? Everyone got very excited by him, but he just hasn't been in the situation, whether that's his fault or the team's fault, where he's been able to push on and get any success off the back of that. Are they going to be part of a team that can get it done, like Mahomes, will be a Super Bowl, NFC or AFC championship contender year in, year out? Or are they going to be Josh Allen, where they just can't get it over the line? Obviously, it's a bizarre discussion to have because we haven't the chance to prove themselves yet in the playoffs down the stretch when it really matters year in, year out. But if we just look at the teams and come at it from that angle, might just talk about the Packers. I do really like what they're doing to put Jordan Love in a position to succeed. There's no Brandon Staley's on this team. That's going to make him a Justin Herbert for the next couple of years. His receivers look fantastic. Watson, Dobbs, Jaden Reed. A lot of weapons around him. Strange because Jordan Love learning under Aaron Rodgers, you would have expected him to have a lot of Rodgers-like tendencies. He's looking more like Brett Favre at the moment. He has gone a bit loose with the ball. But he's also putting up some of the most touchdowns, some of the most scores in the league at that quarterback's position. So it does make him a very fun guy to watch, and I'm excited to watch the Packers week in, week out. He had a lot cleaner game last week against the Cardinals, so you'd like to see him keep that going this time. But obviously another crucial aspect to the success of these quarterbacks is the defense that the GMs and the coaches give them as well. And I'm also liking what I see on the Packers from the defensive side of the ball. They struggled last year against the pass. They're not one of the best in the league this year by any means, but they've taken a big leap forward. And this defense is ball hawking right now. They have 17 takeaways, which is 4 more than anyone else in the league. Which is actually Chicago and Minnesota, who are tied for second with 13. So that just, again, sums up the power of the NFC North right now. Xavier McKinney, I think that was one of the best signings of the offseason. He's been huge for the Packers. And they also have some lesser-known names performing, like Karl Brooks, along the defensive line. He's really becoming a disruptor for them. So for such a young team, I look at the Packers right now, and I think they're absolutely poised to be a strong contender for years to come. In terms of putting him in one of those buckets, let's put him in Josh Allen right now, because it seems bizarre to compare anyone to Patrick Mahomes at this stage.
Love it. Drop the mic. This is the big game on Sunday, lads, and to sort of see it, for people wondering, it's in Lambeau Field. It's in the early window, I think, as well. Am I correct? I feel like it's on TV. I should probably get this right. Mark, when's the last time we actually watched the game at 6 o'clock? I can't remember. Jesus.
Fortunately, the Ryanair flight from Stansted has been delayed 2 weeks in a row, so I've been able to get the 9 o'clock window in barely. But I look forward to.
Well, storm dependent.
The last 2 weekends it's been nice because it was it was the first time I was able to take out the laptop and just watch the games as they happen live. Obviously, I go back and watch them afterwards, but it was nice to get tuned in. You can tell me if this is the late game or the early game or window, but when it comes to Houston, like I alluded to, Nico Collins is there's the weirdest sound, Michael, from your sorry. There, you got your mic turned off. It's like just then. Sorry, I'll keep going. Nico Collins is out again this week, but what we were able to see from Houston last week was the run game was back. We saw that Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon were missing for 3 or 4 weeks, the way that you want to look at it, and getting them back. They were averaging 78 yards. The Houston Texans as a team, rush yards, those guys went off on the weekend for combined 193, including runs of over 50 yards each. So getting that element back definitely helps, and that's why we talked about the embarrassment of riches that Houston offense has, that when a guy like Nico Collins goes down, and I know he's a wide receiver, but teams now maybe wanted to focus on the running game because they see how strong it was the other day, and it'll probably open up Stephon Diggs. But in terms of who's going to get the Nico Collins role, it should continue to be Tank Dell. We saw a bit of it, I think, in the weekend, but he's the faster guy, and in terms of running the posts, they're those deep balls where the wide receiver will cut in towards the goal deeper down the field, kind of like an intermediate to long route. I think that he has to step up, but he hasn't been the same as when pre-injury, like where he was last year. So as the season goes on, I hope that Tank Dell can step up again, and it'll be interesting in this game to kind of, I suppose, see where that goes. But either way, I think, yes, Stephon Diggs will certainly see more targets, and we hope that the run game and Tank Dell are able to do some more.
In terms of looking at the Texans defense, we sort of heard from DeMeco Ryans during the week where, yeah, they put up a 40 bag over the Patriots last week, but they're not happy in terms of how much this defense actually gave up against Drake May and the Patriots. And I think that shows the level that they're trying to get to as a team, that mindset of we're not letting anything in here, we're not letting anything go. Through 6 games, they've actually allowed 135 points, which is considerable enough if you're trying to have a defense which is going to be highly ranked in the league. They're ranked 5th in the NFL for average yards per game, so they need to try and improve on that defense. Last week, Will Anderson Jr. had the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 3 sacks, 8 tackles in a single game. Guys like Derek Barnett as well, playing really, really well. And you see guys like Caden Bullock, he got an interception in his first game so far this year. Watch that play back. It's pretty awesome to see. We all know how good they are on the offense. It feels like this defense is really trying to fine-tune itself, and I can't think of a better arena or a better situation to go into than Lambeau Field to try and do that. It feels like one of those games where if this Texans defense can sort of choke the Packers offense early, they can take control of the game. But certainly, Mark, Jason, when it's CJ Stroud, Jordan Love going up against each other, this is something that we're going to see, please God, for the next 10, 15 years, because it's 2 versatile young quarterbacks who are playing with confidence, who enjoy their football. And I think it's going to be fun to watch, lads. It's going to be super to see. Bring it on.
I know we're not doing picks necessarily. I probably pick Texans just because I like them so much, but it really sets up well for the Packers offense, because with them having the 4 wide receivers, that's just not how the Texans defense has probably been built to defend that. Do I have it written down? Yeah, no, I can confirm this because it was something that I saw in passing. Texans are 30th. Ranked against pass rush. So, I mean, an offense like Green Bay's can certainly set up to do some stuff with that. And I wonder, will they take advantage? And, again, will it be that blueprint that you're wanting to see week on week against teams, how to beat them? I don't know if you will have anything to say on that, Jason.
I think play action is definitely an area where the Packers can excel this week. That Texans defense is actually a bit banged up, isn't it? The back...
They've at least 2 guys out. They have 2 guys out at least.
I think they're missing a couple of linebackers. Yeah, so I think Texans are DVOA stats, whatever. I saw something that the Texans struggle against play action. So I think look out for that in this game in terms of how the Packers offense is going to exploit them.
Let's jump into, well, you can watch the games this week, thezone.com/ProFootballIreland. Click on that link, folks. Click on that QR code. Zoom in, click on the lads. Right, finally, headache time. Short and sweet for me. Drake May throws 3 passing touchdowns and rushes for a touchdown. The Patriots run all over the Jags in Wembley. A star is born. And that is the takeaway that I have from this game, Mark. Am I a loser, an idiot? Probably. But I think Drake May has a Sunday to remember, and there's a reason why Dan Campbell's crying in that photo.
What's the reason he's crying in the photo? Oh, because of Aiden Hutchinson. Sorry. No,
just crying generally. Yeah, just crying generally.
No, I 100% agree with that. It is rivalry week. We obviously have that Super Bowl matchup. We have tonight, Sean Payton faces the Saints, and then obviously the Giants are going to see Saquon Barkley, who was kind of like living in the fans' heads there for a few weeks. Now that he's with the Eagles. All those are coming up. But I don't know if you can call it a rivalry of sorts, but L'Jarius Sneed, the last time he played the Buffalo Bills was obviously with the Kansas City Chiefs when they owned them. They've obviously knocked them out, 3 out of the last 4 years out of the playoffs. He's used to seeing a lot of success there. L'Jarius Sneed, unhappy to have been traded out of Kansas City this year. He obviously wanted the long-term deal, but he wanted it to be with a contender like themselves. It is not going well. Titans fans will be able to tell you that. He's one of the worst defenders in the NFL right now, and he's getting paid a lot of money to do it. I think that so the Titans defense strangely has been giving up a few yards, which is kind of funny, but there does seem to be a bit of animosity. Obviously, Jamal Adams, we saw today, got released. Former superstar with the Jets. It's been having a weird career for him. But I think L'Jarius Sneed now, I think it's just tough for him when you have this willy won't he play with Amari Cooper. But in terms of like he's given up, I have here 9 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. It completely ignores that he'd have given up a lot more yards even last week against Joe Flacco, except for Joe Flacco overthrew 2 wide receivers that had completely beaten L'Jarius Sneed in coverage. Another play that won't go against him, his yards total, was that he gave up a flag for massive yardage, pass interference call. So L'Jarius Sneed has not been it for the Titans after, they traded away good compensation. I think it was a 3rd rounder or such. Maybe it was the 2nd round for him. And I think it'll just be strange for him going against the Bills, and he doesn't come out with a lot of swagger now that he's with the Tennessee Titans. Careful what you wish for, boys.
Oh,
Mary Cooper.
Jason.
I think we're probably the only NFL podcast on the planet that's gone through a full episode almost without mentioning Mary Cooper, but we haven't mentioned Devontae Adams, so I'm throwing his name out there now. That he's not my headache. I've circled back to London as well. I think Drake May will have a good game. And I think a big part of that good game will be Demario Douglas, slot wide receiver. He was his go-to target last week. He had 90 points. Looked very good. And we discussed the issues that the Jags are having. They're last against the pass, last in the league in interceptions, bottom 10 in sack percentage. Ryan Nielsen on defense is not off to a good start. And Doug Peterson's on the hot seat, obviously, but I guarantee you Ryan Nielsen is feeling a bit of pressure himself and having to turn things around. So it's a headache for him. And I think Demario Douglas is the guy who has a big game against him.
I like it, ladies. I like it. Let's see what happens. Week 7 of the season, thezone.com/ProFootballIreland. That's week 7 already. We're nearly halfway through the regular season here. It's a bit scary. Got a few comments coming in. Hup Croker. I'm presuming that's in relation to what we said at the start. I want to give Trev a shout out. Trev is going to the Bills game this week. He's flown from Shannon.
Hey, just gave it my headache there and all. No, it's class for Trev. Really cool story. You should check it out on his own podcast. He's talked about it in detail. But
Irish Bills Mafia.
It really genuinely Irish Bills Mafia. Way to go, Michael. It is a cool story. He was walking into Tottenham last year for the Bills game, met another fan, and as a result, he is over with that fan this week in Buffalo, which it's a crazy story. It's really cool, heartfelt story, and he's outlined on his own podcast. Really cool.
Really cool. I want to give a shout out to Ross Bolger, who got from Leash, who got the special teams performer of the week in his whole conference in the FCS, which is really, really cool as well. Just before I forget about that. Trev actually asked the question, will the Niners get payback on the Chiefs? Purdy is playing awesome stuff without CMC. Will they beat Mahomes in the rest? No, Trev, they won't. That's my fault.
Yeah, I think we're 2 for 1 here. I think the Chiefs. Now, again, good game, but Jason's the one that's believing. And I think your point was good, Jason. I think the 49ers needed a bit more. But again, the NFC West is going to stay wide open for a while, it seems. Boutte was a great player for LSU. That's my boy for the Patriots that Jared's referencing.
Jared saying Boutte was a great player for LSU. Jason, your Wi-Fi high is like it's in LSU tonight. I'm loving it. Like, you're coming across fine. You sound good, but it's really funny to watch. Thanks, Jared, for the comment as well. A few more. Let's see here. Sean Quinn, will Devontae Adams play on Monday night? No, he'll play on Sunday night.
Yeah,
against the Steelers. That's a big game. A couple of lads from Ireland heading over to it. Donald Trump going to the game. Devontae Adams making a hell of a... Like, let's be quite clear here. I don't want to have a whole Jets podcast, but the Jets need to win that game. Are we in agreement?
Yeah. And I think that's why they play as well. This whole Willy Won'ty is just, a swerve. They don't want the word, they don't want them prepping for him.
Darren O'Dwyer, Vikings for the Super Bowl. What do you think of that, Jason?
No. No, I don't think. I think the offense and Sam Darnold will be what ultimately harms them. Maybe deep in a January cold playoff game in Lambeau Field. I hope you're not a Vikings fan, but it sounds like you are.
Of course, the man's a Vikings fan.
Gary McGurk up the Farney. After 2 big trades this week, will there be another big surprise before the deadline? Max Crosby will go to Detroit.
Again, Al Davis has said that there's no way he's trading Max Crosby, but I do think that there's going to be more trades. Kansas City, I think,
What about Tom Brady?
I was on a call earlier on for NFL International. Ooh! And Mike Florio was on the call. And don't ask me how I got on this call, but he literally questioned the guys like, can Tom Brady call a Raiders game? And they wouldn't answer. And he goes, tell me now, he can call a Raiders game. There's no conflict of interest there. I mean, apparently, that is intriguing to say the least. That's a whole, I feel like that's a different podcast in itself in terms of what he's doing. He's not an owner. I've got one more here from Michael Brady. Up, down, up. Any more? Oh, that's literally the same question.
Yeah,
Any more big trades in the offing?
I think that the Detroit Lions are going to have to bring in a pass rusher. Again, Hassan Reddick seems to be out there for the Jets. Well, maybe they're able to figure that out now because the Jets will want to be a contender. But literally, there was no other player bringing a pass rush outside of Aiden Hutchinson. He was really holding the whole defense up. So when we're talking about a genuine Super Bowl aspirations there in Detroit, I think they're going to have to make a move. So while I do think there'll be other trades, I think they have to get a guy.
I'd like to see
that's us, lads.
The Chiefs make a move as well. Sorry, I knew as I started talking, the Wi-Fi was going to come in late there. I want to see the Chiefs make a move, go all in on this 3 Super Bowls in a row. Why not? We're looking at the Bills make their receiver move. Chiefs go out and get someone, DeAndre Hopkins, whoever it is, make the team better or go for it.
Love it. I'm going to see you guys, weather dependent, on Sunday. Really looking forward to it. Jay Lawrence is doing the Duval at the start of the game. So I very much look forward to it. 1-5 against 1-5. The second year the Patriots have been overseas. Bring it on, lads. Bring it on. Any final words? No? Good night, God bless.
Let's say a prayer that the flights take off as planned.
Mark, you're quite confident it's going to be okay, aren't you? I want to get this on record. You're quite confident.
Yeah, I've heard none the difference. I haven't been storm chasing like you all day on the internet, so
he traffic chases, but he doesn't storm chase, even though the weather is right after that as well. €150,000, by the way. Looking forward to that tomorrow. Everybody else, have a great weekend, and we will chat to you soon here, Pro Football Ireland, with 888 Sport, the official partner of the NFL in the UK and Ireland. 18 plus BGAM lower. Have a great weekend. If you see us at Wembley on Sunday, shout Hoagie Bear for free hugs. Good night. God bless.